Welcome in. It's the Kelly Wells Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless. I'm Andrew Joyce as we talk all things U-Pike basketball tonight. We'll talk about the men's program, also the women's program, and tonight, special guest, athletics director at the University of Pikeville, Reggie Overton. He will talk about some of the women's program and an important win for the U-Pike women. Also, Robert Staggs talks about the spring sports. We'll get an update heading into the spring sports season, new sports at the University of Pikeville, and of course we're talking U-Pike men's basketball. The Bears off to a 9-1 start, currently ranked 9th in the country. The new rankings come out next week, and we look forward to the Bears possibly climbing in those polls. Tonight, Coach Kelly Wells not with us. He's on assignment. Recruiting never stops. Coach Kelly Wells on the recruiting trail with the Bears having an off night, not playing until Thursday this week. So we'll be joined by assistant coach Ty Compton. And Ty, welcome in to the Kelly Wells Show.
Thank you very much.
You get to sit in the big chair tonight.
Definitely. That doesn't happen often.
Coach constantly scouting. He's on film work. He's on the recruiting trail. And again, tonight he is on the recruiting trail. So you get to fill in tonight. So your first appearance on the Kelly Wells Show in this specific seat.
Definitely.
So we want to introduce Ty Compton to the folks, our listeners, our viewers, and let's get some background and how you arrived at the University of Pikeville.
I'm from Grundy, Virginia. Came down 5 years ago, actually, as a student at Pikeville. This will be my 4th season with the men's basketball program, and just kind of started out as a student assistant, a volunteer, and have worked my way up that way. And Coach Wells has been great. It's been a blessing to work with such a great guy, and a guy that gave me a chance when he didn't have to, really.
Absolutely. Of course, coming out of Grundy, Virginia, you understand Pikeville. You understand the history, the tradition of Pikeville College. Grundy's not that far away. And being a fellow Southwest Virginia guy, you and I have that in common. And folks in Southwest Virginia, they know the tradition of Pikeville College and now the University of Pikeville. When you arrived on campus, what were Ty Compton's plans? What was your academic major? What did you want to do?
Really, there wasn't a lot of a plan. I had actually left high school and went to Kentucky Christian to play football, and kind of went back and punted, so to speak, and then just tried to come up with a new plan. I got here, and my plan initially was to get a business degree and just kind of go into that direction, and didn't really have any intention of getting with the basketball program, and just kind of developed over time. And I ended up helping with Johns Creek middle school elementary team for a year, and then just kind of decided to go for that leap and talk with Coach about trying to get on with the varsity program, and it worked out. It's been great ever since, and wouldn't change it for the world.
It's amazing how things turn out, and I think all of us in life have faced those 4th and longs when we've had to drop back and punt and try to stop the other team and start a new series of down. Ty Compton, he's out of Grundy, Virginia. That's Buchanan County, by the way, and a lot of folks make fun of that, but proud to be a Southwest Virginia guy, assistant coach with the U-Pike program, 9-1 on the season, ranked 9th in the country. And Ty, before we get into highlights, before we get into player spotlights tonight, before we get into scouting reports on upcoming opponents, Shawnee State University, Rio Grande coming up this week, and then next week's poll. And you say early December, why are the polls important? The polls are always important with the NAI because that determines a lot of the tournament seedings that come up in March. So even in early December, it is important. And as we learn about you, we'll learn about a player coming up, Darnell Tubbs. He's been a great addition to the U-Pike program, and he's been a spark for this team through the first 10 games. We will talk with him in just a little bit. Right now, we want to get an update on some guys that have faced injuries, some guys that have been in rehab, and one being Terrence Santel. We've seen him in uniform, and he looks to be about 50%. He seems to be dragging a leg with him, heavily braced. We understand that he has a torn ACL, but doesn't have the red shirt there. So it's either play through it at 50%, 60%, 70%, whatever it may be. But his addition has certainly added a presence in the paint. What's his condition now? Conditioning, I know the injury won't heal itself, but how's conditioning and how's it feeling for him after he's been through some practice and games?
It's actually reacting fairly well. The first game he played for us, he had some swelling afterwards, and we kind of had to monitor that. But since then, it's been pretty good. His biggest issue is his conditioning level.
Sure.
He really can't do a lot in practice because of the need to get in shape. So it's kind of a catch-22, but we try to use him the best we can, and I think he's getting a little bit of confidence with it now. So he's getting better by the day.
Certainly a difference maker, and it makes you wish for if we had seen him at 100%, because what a tremendous addition he is. But how close am I? I said 50%, and that seems to be about what he is on that leg.
I'd say he's definitely no more than 60. He watching him last year, second semester, while he was here redshirting with us, and then in the preseason this season, I wish everyone could have got to see him in that condition. But he made a decision to kind of gut it out and help the team and do what was best for the team, and he's really gave us a spark, and hopefully he can continue on doing that.
Even at 50%, a great addition. He is a presence in the paint, and certainly a difference maker. It changes the look of the team when he's on the floor, and I think it affects shots when teams are in the paint. So good to have him on the floor, even if he gets 10, 12, 15 minutes a game. What's the tops do you think that he could get in a game this year?
I think the key to his minutes are giving it to him in spurts.
Sure.
I think he's not going to be good for 6 to 8 minute spurts because of his conditioning, but if we can work him in several 2 to 4 minute spurts, I think he will be okay.
Absolutely. Terrence St. Hill, there's an update there. And then former Mr. Basketball, he transferred from Louisville, Elisha Justice. A lot of folks welcoming Elisha back, excited for his return. He also suffers a knee injury. Not quite as severe, but a knee injury nonetheless. He's been immobilized throughout much of the preseason work. What's his condition? I know he's come out of the brace.
He's out of the brace. He actually went back for an MRI yesterday.
Right.
Gets those results today or tomorrow, and he's itching to get back. He's got the brace off. He's jumping around a little bit before practice starts. So I think he's feeling a little bit better with it. It's just an issue of, when you don't move your leg for a month, it's going to take a while for you to get back into the flow of things, and I think he's slowly getting there. So
he's a gamer.
Definitely.
He'll get there, and that's how you get to be Kentucky's Mr. Basketball. You are a gamer. We're talking with Ty Compton, assistant coach with the U-Pike men's basketball team. Coach Kelly Wells tonight, not part of the Kelly Wells show. We could have taken a camera crew and sent along with Coach Wells on the recruiting trail, but not the case tonight. We've got the next best thing. Ty Compton with us tonight, and we do take a look back. Wins over Wise, Mid-South Conference action. Wise moving to another level next week. Coming up, Shawnee State and Ryle. Important games for the Bears, not teams that necessarily were ranked in the preseason, but these are games at home that you must win. You must take care of business. We'll get a scouting report on those. We talk U-Pike women's basketball tonight. We talk spring sports tonight with Robert Staggs. We'll have a player spotlight as well. We'll step into the Bears Den with Darnell Tubbs, one of the new members of the Bears. It's been an exciting addition to the Bears program this year. Our U-Pike Bears, 9-1 on the season, 2-1 in the Mid-South Conference. We'll talk about that. We'll take a look at highlights from the UVA Wise win. When we come back, the Kelly Wells Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless. Welcome back in. The Kelly Wells Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless. I'm Andrew Joyce, your host, and joined by Ty Compton, assistant coach with the U-Pike men's basketball program tonight, as we talk all things U-Pike basketball. We'll step into the player spotlight tonight. We call it the Bears Den. Darnell Tubbs, a great addition to the Bears program from last year. Also, we'll talk U-Pike women's basketball. Athletics Director Reggie Overton in tonight as the Bears women's team on the road at Pippa Pass is taking on Alice Lloyd this evening. Also, we'll talk spring sports and the newest sport at the University of Pikeville with Robert Staggs. That's coming up. We'll get a scouting report on Shawnee State University and Rio Grande. Those are two opponents coming up this week. Before we get there, we take a look back, and we look at a tremendous win over a good UVA Wise team that were in town last week, and a Bears win over UVA Wise. We'll go to those highlights now and take a look at some of the extraordinary plays. think the first shot we get, of course, we've seen it before, Trevor Setti. Boy, he has shot well here in the early season, Coach.
No question. When he gets it going, he can shoot from just about anywhere.
Absolutely. And confidence, he's had a lot taken off of him this year with other scoring threats around him. And we see Trevor again, this time off the pass from Whitaker, and knocks it down.
Yes.
You give him an open look, he can get the shoulder squares, and he will absolutely knock it down. Deuce Briscoe, another great addition. He's been a Mid-South Conference Offensive Player of the Week. And there he is, just a little finger roll. He makes defenders look bad.
No question. He's crafty. He's not the most athletic or quickest guy on the court, but he's very, very crafty.
Plays very smart as
Definitely.
well. And there's CJ with a little steal. Long pass, Darnell Tubbs, our Bears Den player tonight. A little two-hand throw down. Athletic.
No
Tubbs
question.
is
Unbelievably
incredibly
athletic.
See Tubbs again. Takes the pass. This team's terribly unselfish. Great look there. I believe that was Johnson with the assist. And Darnell Tubbs, that's how you get on the Kelly Wells show.
No
You don't
question.
you
Trevor
don't
hitting a
ask
tough
to be
shot.
on there. Trevor, tough shot there with the defender in his face.
He's been able to focus on his shooting ability this year a little bit more so than last year.
Offense keyed from the defense. There's a long outlet pass down to Tubbs, and he just running the floor. That's a hustle play. He gets back, recognized by Johnson, and lays it in.
With the guards we have, if you'll run the floor, you'll have all you want.
Johnson again gets that one. I believe that was
Colt Chapman.
What a nice work out of that freshman. A young guy doesn't seem intimidated when he hits the floor.
Not at all. Colt plays just as hard as anybody we've had in my 4 years here.
Johnson, CJ3, we call him, with a behind-the-back pass. Brandon Green, big guy, steps out and knocks it down.
He can do that a little bit. We don't encourage it very often, but he can hit it.
They leave the open look, and there's Tubbs again.
Yeah, Darnell's played unbelievable the past few weeks, and he's just been a big-time spark coming off the bench for us. And right there, he just made a big-time pass to Chris Johnson. He's been an unbelievable spark, especially the last 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, he's very athletic. He can get out, he can run, and that's a tremendous pass right there. Threaded the needle through the paint.
Got Big Terrence in here. Right there he is. He's
A little head fake, got his man in the air, and then the baby hook from the big guy.
he uses his body to get positioned just about as well as anybody we've had here.
CJ again doing what CJ does. Whitaker right side gives it to Green. There's the big guy with the flush.
Yeah, Brandon's another guy that reaps the benefits of having so many good guards. He'll get out and run the floor and find himself in good position.
There's Deuce spotting up, long three right at the key. Can shoot it, he can pass it, plays smart.
No question.
Trevor with the rebound. And
That's what
I'm
we
sure
like
that's
to
what
see.
Trevor grew up doing.
That's
but
what we'd like to see a little bit more of from Trevor.
He's been doing that. Then he's rewarded. Whitaker sees an open Trevor Setti. How a team leaves Trevor Setti open, I don't understand it, but there he is, knocking down another Appalachian Wireless three.
Good screen by Brandon Green. Deuce gets in the lane. He's almost automatic.
This team's shooting very well. One of the top-ranked teams in the country in the NAI in 10 games. You've got a team that's shooting somewhere in the neighborhood of 55% from the field. One of the top 3 in the country in field goal percentage. One of the top 10 in the country in almost 15 categories, I believe. Did you expect this kind of start from this team with so many newcomers coming in?
Really, the team that we have now is a little bit different than the team we'd envisioned.
Sure.
When we brought the guys here and signed everybody and did all that. But with what we've been dealt, the smaller lineup, the more guard-heavy lineup, we definitely expect to shoot a high percentage. Our defense gets us easy buckets.
Right.
We've got tremendous shooters. It's hard to help off of anybody because everyone's capable of getting to the basket. So a lot of people are getting wide open shots, and we've been lucky enough to make them so far.
Well, when you key your offense off your defense, you get layups. Obviously, you're going to have a high percentage. This team's shooting well from outside as well. One of the top teams in the country in three-point percentage.
Coach Wells, one of his philosophies is layup or setup, and he considers wide open threes to be a layup for a college athlete. And our guys have been cashing them in for sure. We get wide open looks out of our transition, and a lot of that comes from the hustle of those guys running down the floor as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely unselfish play as well. One of the top teams in the country in assists. Early in the season, we're still in November. As we're on the air tonight, we're still in November. And when you have new additions to a program, a lot of times you'll see selfishness, or not necessarily selfishness, but players adjusting to one another. this team seems to be gelling very well this early.
Definitely. We started our practice a little bit earlier than we have in the past because we knew that we were going to have a ton of games in the first few weeks of the season.
Sure.
And really, most of the teams are just now catching us in the total number of games they've played. So they've had to kind of learn on the fly a little bit since the season started. We've had a lot of games, a lot of road tests up to this point. So the earlier start, I think, gave them a chance to kind of gel a little bit, especially knowing what kind of schedule we had ahead of us.
And we'll have 4 Mid-South Conference games by the time we get to December, and then immediately into December we'll hit our 5th Mid-South Conference games. Those games mean something.
No question.
Those games mean something as far as seeding goes in March and when the conference gets together for the tournament. So these are important games early on as well. A lot of folks got used to insignificant non-conference games early in the season, but these games mean a lot. We need big crowds this weekend at the Expo.
No question. Shawnee State, the first game we play Thursday, a lot of people don't remember that they beat us last year at home while we were the #1 ranked team in the country.
Right.
They've had wins over Georgetown at Georgetown. They've had basically the same team for 4 years now. So they're a very dangerous team, and Rio Grande had some big-time transfers in the offseason to make them even more competitive. So the teams that are traditionally in the bottom of the league are getting a lot better.
And the bottom of the Mid-South Conference is someone you can't overlook on any given week, because the Mid-South Conference loaded from top to bottom. Ty Compton, assistant coach with the University of Pikeville Bears. We're talking U-Pike basketball and, of course, the Kelly Wells Show. Coach, he's on the recruiting trail tonight doing what he does best. He's looking at athletes for the future of this U-Pike program. Coming up, we'll talk women's basketball. Athletics Director Reggie Overton in tonight covering our women's segment, and Robert Staggs, he'll be talking the spring sports at the University of Pikeville. Next, we'll step into the Bears Den. Darnell Tubbs, one of our Bears men's players, coming up next on the Kelly Wells Show. It's brought to you by Appalachian Wireless. Welcome back in. The Kelly Wells Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless. I'm Andrew Joyce, your host, and Coach Kelly Wells on the recruiting trail tonight. He's not with us. Ty Compton, an assistant coach with the U-Pike basketball program, in with us tonight, taking care of business with injury updates, a look back at the UVA-Wise win, talking about a 9-1 start, and he'll also have a scouting report coming up on Shawnee State University. That's Thursday night at the Expo Center. Rio Grande comes to town on Saturday at the Expo. A couple of games the Bears need a big crowd for. Coming up, we'll talk U-Pike women's basketball with Athletics Director Reggie Overton. He's filling in for Bill Watson, who's has the U-Pike women on the road at Pippa Passes tonight. They're in action at Alice Lloyd. And Robert Staggs talks about spring sports at the University of Pikeville. Right now, we're joined in the Bears Den by one of our Bears players, one of my favorite segments. I say it every week because a chance to interact with a student at the University of Pikeville. Coaches, you get coach speak. Students, you get real. I've got Darnell Tubbs, 6'1" junior out of Dayton, Ohio. And Darnell, welcome to the Kelly Wells Show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
We've got to talk about Darnell Tubbs. Folks, they're growing used to new players coming into the U-Pike program. Darnell Tubbs, one of those new additions. Let's introduce the viewers and listeners. Who is Darnell Tubbs? Where do you come from?
I'm from Dayton, Ohio. Went to high school, Trotwood Madison High School for 4 years. Transferred to Columbus State to continue playing basketball, and decided to come to Pikeville for my last 2 years.
We're going to talk about that journey. Take us back even further. When did you first pick up a basketball?
I was about 5 years old. My dad coached me at a local YMCA, and I haven't stopped since then. Actually, he put a ball in my hand when I was in the crib.
Yeah, I would imagine
when I was a baby. Yeah.
And especially if he's coaching you, he's obviously got a love for the game. Right. But organized basketball, YMCA, Pee Wee, 5 years old. Have you always been a scorer?
Yes, sir. I could say that. I really didn't get too familiar with roles until I got to high school. When I was playing basketball at a younger age, I was just out there to play and have fun. And then it got serious and started realizing different roles and different pieces and putting the game together. So
Let's talk about Darnell Tubbs as a student, because when we talk student athlete, student comes first. Let's talk about your academic major and what your plans are for the future academically.
I'm majoring in communications right now. Right now, I don't know what I'm gonna do with that. I'm hoping the basketball can take me as far as I can go.
Sure.
But plan B would probably be to be an analyst. Probably
Yeah.
be an analyst, sports analyst.
Hiring them every day.
Yeah.
Hiring them every day. Darnell Tubbs, he may be sitting on my right side, coming very soon, working as an analyst on UPike basketball. Look out, Coach Compton, because when we have former players that working as analysts, they work on the coaches. Joined by Darnell Tubbs, 6'1" junior with the UPike Bears. Of course, that's where you want to go in the future. You'd love to get all you can out of basketball, and I understand that being an athlete, you want to play the game as long as you can. I know some guys that have landed here from UPike in the NBA Development League. They've played overseas professionally, getting paid to play, and obviously that's what an athlete is all about. The love of the game, yeah, but if you can make some money, enough money to live on, that's part of the story as well. Let's talk about what that meant when you decided to come to the University of Pikeville, your chances to play as long as you could.
I knew Pikeville would be a place for me to just focus on my basketball career, just getting my skills right for the future so I can be ready to play professionally if it comes to that.
Sure.
Focus on schoolwork. There's not many distractions out here. So I know I'll be able to be focused and focus on myself. And
Absolutely. How did you first learn about the University of Pikeville?
when I met Coach Compton, he came to one of my games in Columbus and was telling me about him. And I wasn't too sure then because I've never heard of him. So when I came on my visit, I knew that this would be the place.
So Coach Compton, he's recruiting. He was on that trail that Coach Wells is on tonight, and he had come to see you play, traveling to Ohio, I guess, to see you play when you were at Columbus State. Yes. Didn't know anything about Pikeville. How quickly did you learn that Pikeville had a national championship recently?
When I talked to Coach Compton,
Came out very quickly.
Yeah, definitely.
How big a factor was that in your decision? How big a factor was Coach Kelly Wells being a National Coach of the Year? Did those things factor into your decision?
Oh yeah, definitely. When I talked to Coach Compton, I did my little research and I looked him up, and I was pretty impressed. And this is the type of program I like to be in.
Yeah,
I knew it was.
When was your first trip to Pikeville?
Over the summer, I came on a visit. I don't think anybody was here, and I got to see the expo and the trophies, and sat down with Coach Compton, Coach Wells, and I had a good time.
What were your thoughts? Because we take it for granted. I've seen the expo since the day it opened, and I think it's something that we take for granted because it's here and it's here every day. As a player coming out of Dayton, Ohio, you've seen some large arenas, but when you go to the University of Pikeville, is it anything like what you had imagined?
Oh no, not at all. My high school was a pretty nice gym. It was pretty nice amount of fans and things like that. But in Columbus State, it wasn't. It didn't compare to the Expo.
Right.
And I love it.
What was the biggest factor that brought you to UPike?
I say the coaching style.
Why's that?
Because I felt comfortable. Like when I talked to them one-on-one, I felt comfortable with them. I knew I could talk to them about different things as far as schoolwork or when it comes to life decisions, basketball. I knew they would always be there.
We hear family a lot around the UPike basketball program. Coach Kelly Wells, he's a family guy. He had a great job in Hawaii. Yeah. He returns to UPike because of family. Is that truly something that you found since you arrived with the University of Pikeville basketball program, that it is about family and teammates becoming like family?
Yes, sir.
It's important in building chemistry. How's the chemistry early on with this team?
Oh, it's very well.
Guys get along well?
Yes, sir. I love my teammates.
All right.
Great team.
This team, obviously, one of the goals, a national championship. Once you get one, you're hungry for another.
Yes, sir.
And is that something that's talked about among the players? Do you guys talk about goals in the locker room?
Yeah, all the time, and during practice. We set minor goals for ourselves during practice.
Let's hear some of those.
Things such as rebounds, who can get the most rebounds in certain drills, or
Even
who can
in
make
practice.
the most shots. Yes,
Even
sir.
in practice.
Yes, sir. Challenging each other every day, all the time. and it makes us better. It's no enemies on the team. So we all know it's friendly competition, but at the same time we're getting better. So
you had a little bit of a slow start this season. About Game 5, Game 6, Darnell Tubbs emerged.
Yeah.
What do you attribute that to?
I got comfortable with my role. I knew what my role was. I'm a junior, and I told myself that I'm here to get these seniors a ring.
Right.
Like I wasn't really focused on me. I was trying to just help my team and whatever I can do to help my team, and I did what I had to do.
We've seen Darnell Tubbs. You were a key part of the highlights tonight in that win over UVA Wise, Shawnee State, and of course Rio Grande coming up this week. Games at the Expo. How does the crowd affect you guys? Does it affect you when you have a big crowd, when you have a loud and boisterous crowd? Does it help you to get ready for the game?
Sometimes it helps. It's at home. It helps. It definitely does.
Sure.
Away games, we pay no attention to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't pay attention to them.
Able to block
Play
that
our
out.
game. Yeah.
Able to block that out. Darnell Tubbs, of course, some of the goals for the U-Pike Bears. You mentioned practice goals, which I really hadn't thought about. National championship obviously is one. What are a couple of more goals that you guys talk about on a daily basis?
Finishing with a strong record, making our teammates better is a huge goal. Making sure the freshmen can be able to hold their own when they get in the game, things like that. Just challenging each other.
Finally, this is a deep team.
Yeah.
This is a talented team. There is some Division I talent that has come here from other places. How tough are practices when you're going head-to-head against one another? How tough are practices for U-Pike, the one-on-one stuff?
Oh, very tough. Very tough. Because you got guys like Deuce Briscoe and Terrence, Trevor, all these guys, they played at a high level.
Sure.
So I call them veterans. I'm learning from them every day.
Has it made you a better player?
Yes, sir. Definitely.
Making you a better player every day?
Yes, sir.
Do you feel like you compete with those guys now on a daily basis?
Yes, sir.
We do too.
Yeah.
Darnell Tubbs, he's been a part of the highlight videos, and we've seen him emerge. He's been a great spark for this U-Pike team through 10 games, and we look forward to the rest of the season. Look forward to seeing you. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
And we look forward to seeing you in Kansas City. We'll share some barbecue national tournament time.
Sounds good.
Darnell Tubbs in our player spotlight tonight. We talk U-Pike basketball. It's the Kelly Wells Show. Coach Wells, he's on the recruiting trail. When we come back, we'll talk U-Pike women's basketball. Reggie Overton, athletics director, sits in for Bill Watson tonight, talking about the women's program. It's the Kelly Wells Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless. Right back right after this.
Hi, I'm Elisha Justice, a transfer student here at the University of Pikeville. I will be a junior next year, and I am majoring in business administration. I grew up right in Dorton, went to high school at Shelby Valley, and I'm a really big family person. Looking forward to be back home and be around all my family and all my friends, and to play basketball here at the University of Pikeville. I'm Elisha Justice. Join me at the University of Pikeville.
Welcome back in. The Kelly Wells Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless. I'm Andrew Joyce, your host, and we do talk U-Pike men's basketball. Coach Kelly Wells, he's on the recruiting trail tonight. Ty Compton, assistant coach, sitting in for Coach Wells as we talk about the men's program, and what a great player spotlight. Darnell Tubbs, he's been a great addition to the U-Pike program. Right now we change gears just a little. Typically this is a segment we talk with Bill Watson, the women's basketball coach at U-Pike, but currently the U-Pike women on the road at Pippa Passes, taking on an old rival, Alice Lloyd College, and Bill Watson's team coming off an 84-74 win over UVA Wise last week. First win, I think, in 20 tries since last December. It was a monkey off their back.
It was.
We'll talk about that, but you've got an update on tonight's game at Alice Lloyd.
I sure do, Andrew, and thank you for not saying that I look like Billy Watson, because that would offend one or both of us. So
Probably both.
it's 41-25 at Pippa Passes. Halftime, we're up Sally Roberts, believe it or not, I had to ask, Ty Compton's been doing the stats over there. She's got 13 points and 7 steals
How about that?
at halftime.
She's got a motor.
Yeah, she gets those floor burns, and I tell you, she's 110% all the time.
She's absolutely one of those players that gives you every ounce of energy she has every time out. And she's been great coming back to the U-Pike program after a year off. And a big part of that win against UVA Wise as well. Sally, I don't remember a couple of steals, a couple of free throws, a basket in the final 8 seconds of the second overtime in that win.
10 points, 4 rebounds, 3 steals. She gives, I said a minute ago, 110% every time she's out there. She's a pleasant young lady, a pleasure to be around, a great student, and she's adds a lot. It's good to have her back, one of the captains.
Absolutely, and a great leader for that program. They do get the monkey off the back. They've been very competitive early on this season, and it seemed to be that it was a weight around the neck of the U-Pike women's program. I think the young ladies recognized that there was a losing streak that had gone back to last December, and sometimes that cloud follows into the locker room.
Well, you could tell, and I appreciate you letting me do the radio with Joe, and being on the radio, I got to see a different part of it and analyze it a little closer.
Sure.
And, talking to Joe during the game, I could see a little pep in her step. And after the game, I talked to Billy, I talked to Robert Staggs, James Hurley, some people, and Billy out-coached that young coach.
Right.
It's something I hadn't seen the fire in him in a long time. Actually, it's 11 months since the previous victory. And it was we went to double overtime. It worried a lot of people, but I had the confidence that we'd come through in the end, and we did.
Absolutely. And it's a talented team. Great new additions we've talked about in recent weeks on the Kelly Wells Show as we've talked about the women's program. Great new additions, some youth, but also they've got some leadership. Sally Roberts, she's one of those players that has experience. You've got Brogan Conley, who's been around the conference now and knows what conference basketball is all about. Whitney Bell, another tremendous player, and the talent is there.
Right.
And I truly think it's been confidence for this team, being able to give her the hump. They've found that confidence now with the win, and apparently they've carried it to Alice Lloyd.
Well, you know this, Andrew, from being around the business so long. We have young players, and they've never lost before.
Sure.
Peyton Wright's a freshman. She scores 27 and has 9 rebounds.
Exactly.
That's what we need. We got a little young lady from Motlow State. I call her Action Jackson at the point. Her turnover to assist ratio, she had 8 assists and 4 turnovers.
Right.
That's the type of things that we have this year to go with Sally Roberts, to go with Kayla Stamper. Kayla Stamper, probably our best rebounder. At 5'7", 5'8", she has 13 rebounds, 9 points, 4 steals, a concussion.
You think about the Detroit Pistons, the bad boys, Bill Laimbeer.
Yeah.
Not the most talented, not the biggest, not the most athletic, but a banger who got a lot of rebounds.
Right.
That's Kayla Stamper in my eyes.
She positions herself well, and it's just amazing. I wish when I played that I had that ability. She's like a magnet. And I'm proud of them, all the way from all the reserves up to the starters. It was a team effort, but again, I have to stress, and Robert Staggs will attest to this. Billy coached his tail off that night, and that's what made the difference, to be honest with you. And by the way, tonight Brogan's been in a bit of a slump, and I think part of what that is with Brogan, probably our smartest player, our best athlete all around. She's got 6 points tonight. She's trying to find her role with all these new players in the system. And we can probably, Andrew, go 9 or 10 deep. And last year at the end of the year, we probably had 3 players, and that's it. So that makes all the difference in the world.
Absolutely. And sometimes when you have newcomers, whether it's the men's game or the women's game, it takes some time. What's unfortunate in the Mid-South Conference now, the conference season starts so early.
Yes.
And you have conference games that take place in November when teams are still learning to play with one another.
That's right.
And the women experiencing that a little bit, but possibly that win over UVA Wise is the spark that's needed to propel them the rest of the way.
I think it will. There's another player. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention her. I call her the Okie from Muskogee. She scored 15, Natalie Tunnel.
Right.
5 threes, I believe. And when you have that, it keeps you honest, and it opens up that inside game.
Absolutely.
And if she can continue that, I mean, we got a solid team. I like what Billy's got. Billy said that a 100 times. He likes his team.
Sure.
And that makes it easy to coach. All the pieces are there. It's just everything has to fall right.
Everything there, and you're still playing in the Mid-South
Right.
Conference. And when you look at the Mid-South Conference on the women's side, 5 teams in the top 20 in the country preseason.
Right.
5
Yep.
in the top 20. This is a talented conference. We talk about the Mid-South Conference on the men's side
Same as women.
being just as tough as the SEC in football.
Right.
It's the premier conference in men's college basketball. Same goes for the women. It's tough. Even if you do bring in new players and you take strides, it's tough to break that, to get over the hump when you're taking on top 20 teams night in and night out.
It is, and Steve Baker's done a wonderful job as our commissioner, and when we got a close-knit conference, a lot of teams are talking about jumping, D2, and actually Wise has.
Sure.
Georgetown's still in our conference. We're solid in all sports. You got Lindsey Wilson, I believe, playing for the national championship in soccer tonight or tomorrow.
Right.
Football, we're always solid. So we're proud to be in this conference, and got good leadership, and I'm looking forward to this year all the way around.
It's a great conference to be in.
It is.
But it's also a tough conference
is.
to
And it
win.
makes you better. Makes you better.
Absolutely. And that's what it's about, not just building great programs, but building great people.
Right.
And competition breeds great people
Right.
when you face adversity sometimes. And tough to get those wins in the conference. Athletics Director Reggie Overton. We're going to talk spring sports with Robert Staggs, but overall the state of the athletic program tonight as we talk about the women's program, let's talk about overall. Give the athletics program a grade, and obviously we're heading in the right direction.
Overall, I'm pleased. I would give myself a B as athletic director. There's always improvement. We're doing the right things. It's tough times throughout the nation on a financial or fiscal basis, but we're trying to do the right things to button up our clothes and pull up our bootstraps and try to be fiscally sound. Academically, I'm proud of all of our programs. We're doing well. Our GPAs are as high as they've ever been across the board with students. We just was awarded, and I can thank again Robert Staggs and Rick Bentley and my coaching staff for this. We got awarded the 5-star Champions of Character award, and that speaks a lot to what you said a minute ago, Andrew, the quality of our coaches and our student athletes doing things in the community, giving back, which was all about.
Sure.
So we're very proud of that. Great leadership with Governor Patton as always. He has turned this university around. He's very important to the state and the community, and now he's groomed James Hurley into the role of being president next year. So I think our leadership up there is solid, and very fortunate to have them because they're very supportive of athletics.
Absolutely, they are. And athletics is always an important part of the University of Pikeville, historically back to the Pikeville Collegiate Academy days, as we go way back. Reggie, as we talk about athletes and the number of athletes on campus, there's a huge number of athletes on campus at UPike. Do you have that number?
We have 614, which, Andrew, is more than UK.
Yes.
More than U of L.
Hang on, because people have stopped me and asked me about this, and they said the University of Kentucky has how many student athletes? Less than the University of Pikeville. UPike with nearly half the enrollment participating in athletics. Over 600 athletes on campus, more than the University of Kentucky. And that's amazing because more than UK, more than Louisville, and more than some other Division I schools.
Yes, and it makes our job more challenging, but it's why we're here, young people. That's why I'm in the business. Tries to keep me. I've lost some of my hair, but it does keep me young as far as my attitude, and I'm proud of each and every one of them. And I try to go to all the practices, whether it's male sports, female sports, and go to their games. And they really, it would surprise you, Andrew, when you go to those games and practices, they notice it.
Absolutely.
You wouldn't think so, but they notice it.
Absolutely.
And they notice when you're there. And they notice the fine job that EKB does and this television show and the radio shows that y'all do. And I appreciate, again, everything that y'all do for having. This is in Al Greenfield and Pike TV. This is wonderful. This, I'm telling you, this is the best production I've seen. And you guys do a first-class job, and I'll tip my hat to you.
Hats off to all the guys behind the scenes at Pike TV for making it all possible, and what a tremendous job they do. Dr. Reggie Overton, Athletics Director at the University of Pikeville, as we wrap up the women's segment tonight, talking UPike basketball. Coming up, we'll talk spring sports with Robert Staggs. Still to come, assistant coach Ty Compton as we get a scouting report on the Bears' next two opponents. You're tuned to the Kelly Wells Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless. Welcome back in the Kelly Wells Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless. I'm Andrew Joyce, and what a great night. The Kelly Wells Show, we miss Coach. He's on the recruiting trail tonight. We talk women's basketball and Reggie Overton, athletics director, filling in for Bill Watson as the Bears women's team on the road taking on Alice Lloyd, and we'll have Ty Compton. He's sitting in for Kelly Wells tonight. As we'll get a scouting report on Shawnee State and Rio Grande coming up this weekend. Now we talk spring sports, and spring sports a certain love of mine because that's what I took part in. And an old friend to welcome in, Robert Staggs.
Good to be here, Andrew.
Of course, head coach of the UPike softball team, and that's obviously one of those spring sports, but it's year-round. I know you guys have been practicing this fall as well.
We started back in August, believe it or not, and wrapped up our fall schedule with Morehead State in early October,
right.
And we've been conditioning ever since.
Absolutely. How do you like the looks of the team for 2013?
I love my team. I really do. They are absolutely working their tails off right now. They get along great. We have no drama going on, which is unusual for women's sports. But I've hired a new assistant coach, Heather Arnold, and she is absolutely wonderful. She is working them hard, and they're loving it.
Obviously, a fall schedule, conditioning, weight training, that goes on in the winter, and I would imagine pitchers and catchers they take very little time off. They're always throwing.
They are, and right now we're going 4 days a week. On Mondays and Wednesdays, we're in the hoops facility doing
right.
agilities and running and that stuff. And Tuesdays and Thursdays, they're out. You'll see them running around town in the evenings, or they're doing some type of distance running.
Absolutely, and it is about conditioning. Those mean wins. What you do in the off season means championships in the spring for the spring sports. Also, baseball, they had a fall schedule, and some other spring sports. I know there are new sports at the University of Pikeville. I've had a chance to talk a little about the newest sport at the University of Pikeville, but I'd like to hear your perspective on the newest sport at UPike.
Oh, my perspective. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. I don't know a whole lot about it other than
we're talking women's lacrosse.
Lacrosse with our head coach Erica Erb.
Yes.
We're looking at about 11 girls running around on the field with sticks with a net on the end of it,
yes.
throwing the ball around each other, trying to get it in a net.
Yes, it's a very physical game. I've had a chance to see some college lacrosse from my days in North Carolina, and it was a very popular sport. It's a great spectator sport as well. We don't know a lot about it, and the recruiting, Coach Erb, she's having to travel to do recruiting because there is no high school lacrosse here in Eastern Kentucky.
Well, when we hired her, her first year, she did nothing but recruit. She
right.
was on the road pretty much 24/7, and you never saw her. And she's been all over the country trying to find players and selling this program, and she's done a great job.
Sure.
And we have kids from all over the country coming here to play lacrosse, and
right.
it's going to be exciting. It'll be fun.
It really will, and I've told her that I absolutely wanted to be at the first lacrosse game that the UPike Bears play, and I will be there as well. Spring sports, we've got some others that also participate. Their seasons take place in the spring.
Well, you have baseball going on.
Right.
Coach Gassman, Chad Gassman, has done a wonderful job with the baseball. They're working hard every day. They ended up their fall season, I think, maybe 3 weeks ago.
Right.
But every time I walk out of that gym, there's guys out there on that field. Sure. They're out there working on their own. They're in the cage. They're they're in the weight room, they're doing what they need to do, and he's going to get that program turned around.
Yeah.
I have every all faith in the world in him.
We talk about the strength of the Mid-South Conference on the Dudley Hilton Show. We talk about how great the Mid-South is in football, and we see that in the playoffs. The basketball teams, they are nationally ranked, and the teams they play are. Baseball the same, softball the same. It remains to be seen with lacrosse. We'll find out. But this is a tough conference, top to bottom, regardless of the sport. You're going to find competitive teams, and you don't just walk in and win a championship.
Well, Andrew, you know as well as I do, is top to bottom, all sports in this conference. This is the toughest conference
Absolutely.
in the country in NAI at our level, and you know, football, you just beat each other to death.
Sure.
Basketball is the same way, and you know, once you get in softball and baseball, it's the same. You know, I was looking at our schedule. We open up our home schedule February 15th and 16th against Indiana Wasteland. They're 24th in the country.
Right.
You know, then you have Lindsey Wilson, who's 15th in the country. Then
Yes.
Campbellsville and Georgetown are receiving votes. So it doesn't get any easier. And
Right.
it's the same on the men's. On the baseball side of it, you have Lindsey Wilson, Cumberland, University of the Cumberlands, Cumberland U, who's new to our conference, who just won a national championship 2 years ago.
Right.
I mean, you know, it doesn't get any easier in baseball.
Doesn't
So-
get any tougher. And you have to make steps to build the program. Obviously, those steps have been made, but getting over that final hump to get to the conference championships and on to the national tournament, those are the steps that are the toughest to make. But while producing great student athletes, I know out of the minor sports, as folks say, outside of football and basketball, sometimes forgotten, but a lot of times when we see the academic all-conference teams, outstanding players, and they're on those academic all-conference teams year in and year out, and that's what it's all about.
It is, and I tell my girls all the time that, you know, nobody 100 years from now, 50 years from now, 20 years from now, nobody's going to care if you won a softball game
Right.
yesterday, or
Right.
or if you beat Georgetown or whoever that day. When they step out off that stage with that diploma and they can put that diploma on a wall,
Right.
that's what they're here for.
Making a difference in the world, and that's what the University of Pikeville puts out: quality people, champions of character, and
Exactly.
a great honor from the NAI that came to the UPike campus again. Robert Staggs, good luck in the spring. We look forward to seeing your softball Bears, and always a pleasure to have you on. You're welcome back anytime.
Sure, glad to be here.
Don't tell Reggie.
I try not
It's
to.
the Kelly Wells Show. Coach Wells, he's on the recruiting trail. We'll get a scouting report on the next two opponents, Shawnee State and Rio Grande, Thursday and Saturday at the Expo Center. It is the place to be. Ty Compton, assistant coach, returns next on the Kelly Wells Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless. Welcome back in the Kelly Wells Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless. I'm Andrew Joyce, your host. Coach Wells on the recruiting trail tonight, and filling in admirably, assistant coach Ty Compton, as we talk UPike basketball. Great show tonight. Had a chance to meet Darnell Tubbs, talk about the student Darnell Tubbs and his background, how he arrived here. And, of course, we've talked women's basketball with Reggie Overton in for Bill Watson. We understand the UPike women, an 8-point lead over Alice Lloyd on the road tonight. So looking for their second win of the year and back-to-back wins. The Bears, 9-1, 2-1 in the conference. Looking forward to the national rankings being released next week, the first regular season rankings of the year. And, of course, the Bears, two important games coming up. Shawnee State University on Thursday. Quick scouting report on Shawnee.
Shawnee State is basically going to have the same team they've had for the past 4 seasons.
Very athletic.
Very athletic. They work extremely hard. You know, it was easy to beat up on them a little bit when they were freshmen and sophomores,
Sure.
but those guys have learned quite a bit since then. They got a really good point guard and a really good four-man that's actually, I think, averaging 17 and 8. They got a shooter that comes off the bench who's shooting. He's 30 for 61 on the year from 3.
Wow.
He's played about 26 minutes and scored about 19 points a game. So very efficient scorers. So it's going to be a good test. Obviously we remember that they beat us at home last year in a big game, and while we were number 1 in the country. So a little bit of payback. Hopefully these guys buy into that, and we can come out and take care of business.
Win last year when you were number 1. The guys that are returning, they remember that. There is no way that we overlook Shawnee State. That's Thursday night, 8 p.m. tip-off at the Expo. Then Rio Grande coming in Saturday afternoon. Quick scout on Rio.
Rio is much more athletic and a little bigger than they have been in the past.
Yes.
They also got a Mountain State transfer, a 6'7", 4-man that's coming in. They have Terrell Morris on the wing that's coming in, and they have a freshman that's an older kid, but it's his first year in college that is one of the best scorers in the league, named D.D. Joyner. So Rio and Shawnee just played this past weekend, with Shawnee coming out on top at home.
Right.
But it should be a very competitive game as well.
Shawnee 4-3 on the year, 2-1 in the conference. Rio 1-2 and 3-4. Terribly competitive teams. It's the Mid-South Conference. You do not overlook anyone. Coach Ty Compton, thanks for being here tonight, filling the role of Coach Wells very well. And good luck, Bears. Let's get a couple of wins this week and see where we rank across the country next week.
I appreciate it. I really enjoyed it, and hopefully we can get 2 more wins.
Ty Compton, assistant coach at the University of Pikeville. We talk UPike basketball on the Kelly Wells Show, and we wish Coach Wells safe travels as he's on the recruiting trail, and will be back with us again next week. Hopefully the Bears will be talking about wins over Shawnee State and Rio Grande this weekend. We want to see you at the Expo Center. Thursday night, 6 p.m. tip-off, the women's game, followed by the men at 8, and then Saturday, the women tip-off at 2, the guys at 4 in Mid-South Conference action. The Expo Center, tickets available at the Appalachian Wireless box office, and UPike basketball. It is the place to be. On behalf of Darnell Tubbs, Coach Ty Compton, Reggie Overton, Robert Staggs tonight, and all the gang at Pike TV and East Kentucky Broadcasting, I'm Andrew Joyce. Thanks for tuning in.